In today's video, I'm going to be going over how to maintenance your adjustable headrest in your hot tub, being that in the rear of your actual adjustable headrest, they are linked by just a corrugated hose. That's a 3/4 inch hose, which feeds the water to the actual neck jets in the adjustable headrest. So you should be checking these. If your hot tub is over 5 years old, that corrugated hose tends to get rock hard, dries up, and basically it'll crack or actually break in half when you're using the headrest. All you're gonna need is a heat gun to get the existing hose off, something to cut the actual corrugated hose that we got at our local hot tub dealership that we got the spa from, and maybe a utility knife to cut the hose if we can't get it off with a heat gun. As you can see, this spa is drained. I do like to drain the tubs down to the actual bottom of the headrest well when I do this, just so I can access this line with the heat gun a little easier. Sometimes you can do it with the water full. If you have it up to temp at 104 degrees, it does make that line a little bit more flexible. By pushing your headrest all the way down, you can actually see the headrest rails and actually see how they work. And at the top of the headrest rails, there'll be an opening area there, which your pegs for your headrest will come to that point and actually slide out, and then you can just kind of jockey your headrest and angle it out of the actual headrest rail. When you are changing this hose after 5 years or more, because it's brittle or it's actually already broke, it is time to actually take a look at these headrest rails also, because this would be the time to replace those as the tub's drained, and I will go over that in another video. On your actual 3/4 inch corrugated hose that's actually fed to the actual headrest, you have these locking rings that actually will roll over the hose and hold it onto a 3/4 inch nipple that's attached to this. If you spin these clockwise, it actually loosens them up. So righty loosey, lefty tighty. So basically we'll go ahead and roll those over to the right as far as we can to get them loosened on both ports. All right, now with our heat gun, we're gonna use this on low, and we're gonna apply heat to both ends of the hose where it goes onto the fittings. And this should loosen it up enough to be able to slide the old hose off of those actual fittings. And the harder the hose is and the older the hose is, the more heat we're gonna need to get that off. Just don't melt anything. And don't place your hot heat gun on the actual hot tub because they are plastic. But as you can see, that's already warping. And there you go. So as you can see, this ring will come off, and then we just have this piece right here that the hose slides on. So go ahead and keep that. So on this one right here, you can feel it just kind of popped off, but you can apply heat to it also to make it easier. All right, with our new corrugated hose that we got at our local dealer, most of these hoses on these actual headrests are set at about 12 inches. I like to go 14 just to give me an extra couple inches, so that way I'm not too short, because too short of a hose and your headrest isn't going to extend up as high as it needs to go, and too long a hose, then you get bunching up back here. And as you can see, this spa actually has lights behind the headrest, and you don't want that hose, that excess hose, to be rubbing on that and wear that light out. So I like to go to the dealer. You're going to need about 14 inches of hose, so get about 1.5 feet just to be on the safe side. So with our piece of corrugated hose here, as you can see, just gonna take a tape measure and measure off about 14 inches. The hoses that were on here were just a little over 12, but a lot of times you can't measure the existing hoses because they're all basically curled up and rock hard. So go ahead and cut that. All right, so now I got a 14-inch hose, and that's kind of it. We can see that we've got plenty of hose to do what we need to do. And that'll be it. We'll just warm up one end of the hose. Not super hot. We're just gonna get it to about 115 degrees or so. Too hot's gonna make the actual hose itself thin, and you can actually damage the structure or integrity of the hose. So we're just basically warming it up a little bit to make it go on a little easier. All right, you can see that hose is real pliable by touch. That's it. We're just going to go ahead and kind of twist it, and as you can see, it just rolled right on. And make sure it's all the way intact, and then we'll take this locking ring and we'll go counterclockwise, and as you can see, it just kind of feeds over the actual hose itself, and we'll just go hand tight. Okay, as you can see, hose is on there, not going anywhere. So on the actual headrest itself, and make sure you always, before you put your hose on, make sure these locking rings are still on here, because you don't want to have to do it twice. We're going to go ahead and warm this one up as well. That's what I just like to shoot a little heat down the actual hose itself. Warm up the outside. That's it, we can feel it. It's still hard. It's not bending yet, so we'll add a little bit more. I like to keep at least 8 inches away from the actual hose. You do not want to damage this hose. You get it too hot, it's going to end up having a hole in it, or it's going to rip on you. So with a little bit more heat, you can see the hose is plenty pliable now. So with our hose completely pushed onto that, and we have at least one of these ribs of the hose over top of that actual nipple on that fitting, we can go ahead and turn our lock ring counterclockwise and tighten that hose down. We'll go hand tight on that, and that should do it. As you can see, it's nice and snug, it's on there. So it rolls out. All right, we'll just kitty wampus that back in. Put our 2 top pegs in the guides to put it back in the headrest. There we go. Now that our headrest is completely finished, we just want to make sure it functions properly. So you'll want to bring it all the way up, make sure our hose isn't kinked or tight, and then bring it all the way down and make sure it's not pushing itself back up. So this one's working properly, and we also want to check to make sure that this hose isn't rubbing on any light features that are behind the actual headrest itself, because it'll actually end up breaking them. So we're good to go.